Most people learn a simple explanation for how money began. Long ago, people are told, barter failed. A farmer had grain but needed tools. A smith had tools but wanted food. Exchange was slow, fragile, and frustrating. So, someone invented money. Metal coins appeared. Trade accelerated, and society advanced. It sounds tidy, rational, reassuring, and largely false. Money did not arise because barter was inefficient. It arose because authority required an instrument. Once that instrument existed, it reshaped control over value, labor, obligation, and force. This is how metal became money, where history, power, and economics intersect, and easy stories dissolve. Here, origins matter more than myths we inherit. Before metal ever became money, most human societies did not organize life around exchange. Inside small communities, people were not constantly negotiating value. Survival depended on familiarity. Food moved through households because relationships existed. Labor was shared because memory endured. Obligation was personal, not measured. What was owed was understood through social context, not calculated through price. Value existed inside relationships rather than outside them. This arrangement worked well for long stretches of human history, but only within limited scale. As long as communities remained small and interconnected, trust held. But scale changes behavior. When populations expanded, villagers turned into cities. Trade extended beyond kin and neighbors. Outsiders arrived without shared history or shared accountability. Memory weakened. Obligation blurred. Conflict became more frequent. Authority encountered a problem that social trust alone could not solve. Large populations required coordination across distance and time. Armies had to be supplied. Workers had to be mobilized. Resources had to be collected from people who would never meet their rulers. Barter offered no solution. You cannot feed soldiers with favors. You cannot tax strangers through reputation. You cannot govern territory through personal obligation. Power required a mechanism that operated impersonally and consistently. That is where money enters the story, not as convenience, but as structure. For value to move beyond local trust, it needed form. Something durable, something portable, something divisible, something that could be counted without conversation and accepted without memory. Grain spoiled. Animals escaped. Land remained fixed. Labor vanished the moment it was used. None of these could preserve value across space and time. Metal cooled. Copper, bronze, and silver were not chosen for symbolism or beauty. They were chosen because they behaved predictably. They resisted decay. They could be melted and they could be divided into precise amounts. Most importantly, they were scarce enough to matter, but common enough to circulate. Metal transformed value from something relational into something mobile. But merchants did not turn metal into money. States, the early civilizations in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Eastern Mediterranean already exchanged goods without coinage. What they lacked was not trade, but command. Armies required wages. Administrations required funding. Authority required compliance. Payment needed to be standardized, recognizable, and enforceable. Metal made that possible. Once rulers demanded taxes payable in metal, daily life changed. People who had lived largely outside markets were pulled into them. Subsistence became obligation. Harvests became liabilities. To obtain metal, individuals had to sell goods, sell labor, or sell time. Markets did not emerge organically. They were drawn into existence by taxation and authority. Money did not weaken domination. It refined it. This is the part of monetary history rarely emphasized. Money was never neutral. It was not designed to facilitate equal exchange. It was engineered to measure, extract, and redeploy value at scale. Once value could be extracted, it could be stored. Once it could be stored, it could be accumulated. Once it could be accumulated, it could be converted into force. That is why the earliest financial centers were not marketplaces. They were temples, palaces, and administrative halls. Priests and officials recorded grain, labor, and metal long before free markets flourished. Accounting systems existed before coinage. Ledgers came before currency. The structure of money emerged from authority downward. not from trade upward. The next transformation came when metal stopped being weighed and started being marked. Stamped metal altered the nature of trust. When states began minting coins in printing metal with symbols, weights, and authorities, they were not merely standardizing exchange, they were embedding legitimacy into objects. A coin carried a message. Trust the mark, not the person. Authority replaced relationship. In Lydia, across Greek city-states, and later throughout Rome, coins displayed rulers, gods, and emblems of power. They were not only economic instruments, they were political signals. Every transaction reinforced hierarchy. Every payment reminded people whose system governed value. Currency became ideology in circulation. Control introduced temptation. Those who issued money discovered they could alter it. Metal content could be reduced. Edges could be clipped. New coins could be issued faster than resources justified. Spending became easier. Consequences were delayed. Inflation was not discovered in modern economies. It appeared the moment money became adjustable. Prices rose. Confidence weakened. Soldiers demanded higher wages. Markets adapted, yet the structure endured. Once money existed, retreat was impossible. It was too efficient, too useful, too deeply embedded in how value moved across time and territory. This reveals the central truth. Money did not evolve away from power. It evolved with it. The bronze coins of ancient empires vanished, but the logic they created remained. Standard units persist. Authority still defines value. Abstraction still replaces trust. Modern systems continue to move value upward, outward, and forward through time. Materials changed. Incentives did not. When value could be stored, power no longer depended on constant force. Accumulation replaced coercion. Armies could be raised before wars began. Bureaucracies could expand without immediate extraction. Control became gradual. Authority became patient. And patience is a form of power. This explains why monetary systems outlast rulers. Kings fall. Dynasties collapse. Borders shift, but the structure of money absorbs new symbols while preserving its mechanics. Coins once carried gods, 10 emperors then national emblems. The imagery evolved, the message endured. Value flows through authority. As economies expanded, money spread beyond its original purpose. What began as a tool to pay soldiers and collect taxes became the backbone of trade, credit, and hierarchy. Wealth crossed generations. Debt became enforceable. Obligations became transferable. Inequality persisted long after its original causes faded. Money stopped being a tool and became an environment. By the height of empires like Rome, money saturated daily life. Markets thrived. Trade networks stretched across continents. Coins passed through countless hands, detached from the labor that mined them or the suffering that sustained them. Abstraction succeeded. The system felt natural, invisible, inevitable. When pressure mounted, leaders rarely questioned the structure. They adjusted it. Coinage was diluted, not from ignorance, but constraint. Wars demanded funding. Administrations required payment. Raising taxes risked revolt. So value was quietly thinned. Effects arrived slowly. Inflation crept. Trust eroded. Accountability vanished with time. Modern money no longer rings in pockets, but it retains ancient DNA. Today's currencies are not backed by metal, yet they remain backed by authority, obligation, and enforcement. Taxes persist. Debts endure. Armies remain funded. Scarcity is still managed by policy rather than geology. The language changed. The mechanism did not. Money was never designed to be fair. It was designed to scale. Fairness has always been secondary, negotiated through politics and resistance. The core structure consistently favors those who control issuance, rules, and enforcement. That is not conspiracy. It is history. From early metal to modern digits. The pattern holds. Money did not arise to simplify life. It arose to make power portable. And once power became portable, it reshaped everything it touched. The most dangerous belief isn't that money is unfair. It's that money is impartial. History rarely repeats, but the logic beneath it endures. Once you recognize that logic, you stop wondering why the system behaves as it does. You begin asking a sharper question: where do I fit within it? If this shifted your perspective, subscribe, Wealth Casebook, and I'll help you learn how to read them. The past still speaks clearly.